I came across an article called The Death of the Public Intellectual on Substack, and essentially describes public intellectual as a rare embodiment of both intellectual depth and cultural visibility, making them important cultural forces of their time. And the article goes on to essentially argue that public intellectuals aren't becoming difficult to find because we're in any kind of deficit of brilliant thinkers, but because the space of these figures has nearly disappeared. So intellectual influencers today, though brilliant in their own right, have to contend with branding themselves on social media. They have to publish articles and make content that generates engagement rather than encourage deep intellectual thinking. And the complexity of the weight of ideas is often sacrificed for the sake of appealing to masses. Right? And then I was like, what does this mean in terms of this? So are we to say that public intellectuals wrote in the 80s or 90s so that us influencers, so to say, could aestheticize that now? Make sense? And it just makes me feel that intellectual debates these days, for example, I feel have become really siloed. Do you agree with that? What do you reckon of that? Because when's the last time I spoke to someone I struggle to connect with people at an intellectual level. Now, I'm not saying I'm freaking Einstein or someone, but just I know I've put in the work in terms of self-awareness, etc. And I like to think deep. I'm not saying everyone has to, but find me a person who can have a chat like this for 2 hours or beyond and learn. Do you know what I mean? Most people are like, oh, damn, whatever. That's why I feel like it's solid now.
Yeah, but I think we all have the potential within us to sit and talk and learn from each other and explore ideas. I genuinely believe that. And, controversial point here, but I think we are situationally stupid in the West. So many of us. We're fucking idiots. And there's a difference there, and there's a key word that I throw in there, and it's situational stupidity. You look at the potential of humans. You look at the fact that all of us, anyone listening to this, us two, sat across the table from each other, we are the product of an unbroken chain of evolution where if one single generation failed in any way to live or reproduce, you or I wouldn't be here. One little chink in that chain. It's like, obviously, any human has incredible capacity to do pretty much whatever they want if they're aware of the limitations of biology. So we are situationally stupid at the moment as a society. And I think it's because of things like the technology that we've unveiled the last few years, this revolution, this digital revolution with the age of the internet and information abundance. And I agree, we are more siloed. We've been put into echo chambers, and especially with public intellectuals, I think the duty of an intellectual is to honestly examine different ideas and detach emotion and biases from that. That's now gone, and a public intellectual is the person that collects ideas and puts it in the sexiest form for people that agree with them. So we're no longer changing minds. And, we see this with, first of all, Steven Crowder's Change My Mind stalls, where he'd go out and debate people publicly a few years ago, like a decade ago now. And that was a beautiful thing. People were debating, but it kind of just went downhill from there, and people started getting more emotional. They'd get embarrassed because it was on camera, and these clips would be farmed of people getting destroyed. There was this hunger to see people getting destroyed intellectually. And as soon as you get that hunger for destruction, the hunger for truth disappears. And that's the biggest shift. We've gone away from curiosity and we've gone towards entertainment. And you see this now, with the death of Charlie Kirk, sat under a tent that says "Prove me wrong," wearing a t-shirt that says "Freedom." That's the most symbolic representation of everything that's going on right now in public discourse. And I'm always very careful not to fearmonger and get over emotional with topical events, because there have been so many people reacting to that going, it's World War III, it's civilizational collapse, it's time to fight. It's like, just take a breath, man.
Yeah.
But it is symbolic of where we are as a culture, and where at the heart of everything now, even for intellectuals, it's this identity thing. It's thinking about the self.
Yeah.
it's identity before ideas. And with that comes a tendency to lash out.
Mhm.
Because if someone insults you, or rather they insult your ideas, really, you don't take it that way.
Yeah.
You take it personally.
Mhm.
It's an attack on you. And of course, if someone attacks you, you're going to attack them back. It's self-defense. It's programmed into us. But we really need to make this separation, this delineation between ideas and identity. And we can't let the two bind together
Mhm.
because that's when the violence happens.
Mm-hmm. To your point on the echo chamber, I actually termed it last night the intellectual echo chamber. And I was thinking about it is we are in a weird space us as Gen Zers, which is a lot of things. So you talk about ideation and identity, and people often sort of merge the two together because a lot of times we feel like we are convinced that someone else has already done the work before us, right? And said everything that needs to be said. And we're just like out of ideas. So what do? We go back to our identity. And that becomes a bit of an issue. So me as a Gen Z, that's something I struggle with. Let's say as a podcast host, putting something new. For all I know, I'm like, oh my God, Chris Williamson said everything that's said to be out there, right? Hormozi said something. Peterson has said something out there. And I'm just like, oh, where are my own intellectual thoughts going to come through? Or how am I going to get to that point? So I'm trying to figure that out right now, that space. But a lot of people just succumb to that idea of like, okay, it's already out there. What's the point? So a lot of people, when I was starting the podcast, are like, oh, dude, it's so saturated. Everything there's so many out there. Why are you doing it? I was like, have you seen the data? How many actually stay on for long, right? To that point though, what do you think? Have you ever thought about this? Second, if so, what are some ways, because I would love to just discuss this point. How can we bridge this gap and make sure people, we have to have identity ideation, sure. How do we do that though?
I think it starts with incentives. Incentives are stronger than anything else. People often make New Year's resolutions because they're motivated, and then 91% of them fail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because we run off of these different fuel sources. So motivation's one, that sucks because it's fleeting. Yeah. Discipline is one, it's stronger because it's a routine, it's a habit, and you do it no matter what. But that doesn't quite light the fire underneath you like incentives do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one thing we should prioritize. And that is the number one thing that humans operate off of. So what are the current incentives? They are to clickbait, to exaggerate, to be hyperbolic with everything, and to fearmonger, and to play off of our negativity bias as humans. And with that, you see this loss of curiosity, because curiosity isn't sexy. Curiosity is a fundamental that gets us to the sexy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the sexy itself. The marketable product is polished,
mm-hmm.
and therefore, by definition, anything that's the most marketable thing, it's not necessarily in the moment and authentic. You might come up with an absolute slammer on the spot, but that will be the product of this curiosity. So I don't know, I haven't thought about it in this frame, but we've kind of skipped over the passage that actually gets us to the polished ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the Goodhart's law thing, where we're going straight towards the ideas and the slogans rather than what gets us there. And that's curiosity, it's
mm-hmm.
examination, it's speaking across a table to each other uninterrupted for 2 hours, because that's where the magic happens. And we have forgotten that. And it's a classic thing of the medium is the message, right? Now, when everything's 60 seconds, you've got Twitter, which is an absolute cesspit.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to work out more things. And to the point of feeling like it's been done before,
mm-hmm.
like, no. With Chris as someone who I love and admire, like, he knows fuck all. Hormozi knows fuck all.
Mm-hmm.
Peterson knows fuck all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all know fuck all. But what's magical is that we have our own interpretation of the world and our own experiences that no one else has ever had.
Yeah.
So this idea that there's nothing more to be worked out and we should just be shouting each other down using current ideas that predate us. It's like, how's that going? Really? Is that what we need to do? look at where we're at as a society
Mm-hmm.
and ask yourself, have we worked it all out yet? No. The world's constantly changing, technology's evolving. I mean, the idea that we're experiencing something like the death of history. I mean, Francis Fukuyama wrote about this in his book End of History, whenever it was, a few decades ago in like the 80s. And it's just clowned now publicly. It's like, since then, we've had the biggest revolution technologically ever,
Mm-hmm.
and the world order has changed. So this is a crucial point now where going forwards, things aren't looking good
Mm-hmm.
for us as a generation. And I think that's partly down to a lack of responsibility taken by older generations, and the world that they're giving us is based off of them kicking the can down the alley to us. But with that, it's like we can't repeat their mistakes, and we need to take responsibility ourselves. So we can't chase these sexy slogans for the sake of getting views and clicks.
Yeah.
We need to return to curiosity and honest, open discussion. And even for someone selfish that doesn't get why that's important societally, there is no better feeling than having an open discussion with someone and being proven wrong respectfully and thinking, oh, I can take that idea away with me. It doesn't encroach on my identity because my ideas are malleable and ever adapting, and I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not this deterministic soul that just thinks what I was born into and what I feel now is the case forever. I'm going to take that idea on board. That's it.